I stood in the kitchen doorway watching them work. My son, I'll call him Tyler, and his wife Jessica moved through my house like they'd rehearsed this. Maybe they had. Tyler carried an empty box to the living room. Jessica followed with packing tape and a marker. The sound of the tape dispenser echoed too loud in the quiet house. "Dad, you should sit down," Tyler said without looking at me. "This is going to take a few hours." I didn't sit. I watched Jessica label a box, "Books, living room," before she'd put anything inside. The handwriting was neat, feminine. She'd probably made a list somewhere, probably color-coded. "Where exactly is quieter?" I asked. "Meadowbrook," Jessica said. She smiled when she said it, the kind of smile people use when they're selling something. "It's a beautiful facility. We took a tour last month." Last month? I did the math. They'd waited a respectful 3 weeks before touring facilities. How thoughtful. "A facility," I said. "An assisted living community," Tyler corrected. He still wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my bookshelves like they were a problem he needed to solve. "You'll have your own apartment, common areas, activities." I'd worked in logistics for 32 years, airports mostly. Later, private warehousing. I knew how things moved from point A to point B. I knew the language people used when they wanted to make something sound better than it was. Assisted living community meant a place where old people went when their families didn't want them anymore. "I don't need assistance," I said. "Dad." Tyler finally looked at me. He had that expression he'd used since he was a teenager. Patient exhaustion. Like I was being deliberately difficult. "You're 63 years old. You live alone. Mom isn't here to— I know your mother isn't here." The room went quiet. Jessica stopped labeling boxes. Tyler's jaw tightened the way Catherine's used to when she was angry, but trying not to show it. "We're worried about you," Jessica said. Her voice had that practiced softness. She worked in hospital administration. She knew how to talk to people who didn't want to hear what she was saying. "This house is too big for one person. The stairs, the maintenance. What if something happens and nobody's here?" I'd heard this speech before. Not from Jessica. From Catherine. 3 years ago, when her sister Ellen's husband died and Ellen moved into one of those places, Catherine had come home from visiting and said, "If I ever end up somewhere like that, I want you to shoot me." I hadn't shot her. Cancer did the job without my help. "I'll think about it," I said. "We've already put down a deposit," Tyler said. They had a unit available, 1 bedroom, nice view of the courtyard. If we didn't take it now, we'd have to wait 6 months. I looked at the boxes, looked at the car in the driveway, a rental. Tyler drove a BMW. Jessica drove a Mercedes. Neither car was built for moving furniture. "When?" I asked. "Tomorrow," Jessica said. "The movers come at 9. 24 hours notice. In logistics, we called that a rush job. Usually meant someone screwed up the timeline or someone was trying to hide something. Sometimes both. I nodded slowly. "All right?" They both relaxed. Tyler picked up his box. Jessica went back to her labeling. They thought I'd agreed. They were wrong. But I'd learned a long time ago that people see what they want to see. I went upstairs to my bedroom, the room I'd shared with Catherine for 28 years, the room where she died because she wanted to die at home instead of a hospital. I'd sat with her those last 3 days. Tyler had visited once. Jessica not at all. Too hard, they said. Too painful to watch. I opened the closet. Catherine's clothes were still there. I'd meant to deal with them. I hadn't. Every morning I saw her dresses and it hurt. Every morning I decided to do it tomorrow. I pushed past the dresses to the back corner. There was a box there. Cardboard. Old. The tape had yellowed. Catherine's handwriting on the side said, "Decorations XMAs." It wasn't Christmas decorations. I pulled the box out and set it on the bed, cut the tape with my pocket knife. Inside were file folders, documents, a ledger book with Catherine's careful handwriting, a thumb drive taped to the inside lid. Catherine had been an accountant before she retired. Not the exciting kind, the boring kind who did taxes for small businesses and retirees. She liked numbers because numbers didn't lie. She'd say that all the time. Numbers don't lie, Thomas. People do. But numbers just sit there telling the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. I pulled out the first folder. Inside were bank statements, not mine. Tyler's, personal and business. Going back 5 years. The business account showed regular deposits, healthy. The personal account showed regular withdrawals, unhealthy. More going out than coming in, consistently, for years. The second folder was property records. Tyler and Jessica's house, purchased 8 years ago, refinanced 3 times. The current mortgage was bigger than the original purchase price. The third folder was thicker. Credit card statements, store cards, bank cards, lines of credit, all maxed out, all in Tyler's name or Jessica's name or both. The minimum payments added up to more than Tyler's monthly salary. I sat on the bed holding these folders. Catherine had never mentioned any of this. Never said a word, while she was sitting in this room getting weaker and thinner and watching her son visit once. There was a note tucked into the ledger, Catherine's handwriting. Shaky. She'd written it near the end. Thomas, they'll come for the house. They need the money. Don't let them take it before you're ready. The lawyer knows. Call him when you need him. I love you. I'm sorry I won't be there to help. C. The lawyer, Frank Brennan, Catherine's estate attorney. I'd met with him once after the funeral. He'd seemed nervous, kept glancing at his notes, told me everything was in order but to call him if I needed anything at all. I put the folders back in the box, put the box back in the closet, went back downstairs. Tyler and Jessica had made progress, 5 boxes packed and sealed, living room half empty. They worked well together, efficient. They'd probably packed up apartments before, their own apartments before they moved somewhere bigger, somewhere they couldn't afford. I'm going for a walk, I said. Now? Jessica looked up from a box of photo albums. We could use help deciding what to keep and what to... I'm going for a walk. I went out the front door before she could argue. The neighborhood was quiet. Saturday afternoon, people mowing lawns, kids on bikes, normal life continuing like Catherine hadn't died, like my son wasn't packing up my house without permission. I walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop, ordered black coffee, sat at a table by the window, pulled out my phone, found Frank Brennan's number in my contacts. Pressed call. He answered on the second ring. Thomas, I was hoping you'd call. They're here, I said. Packing boxes. Told me I'm moving tomorrow. Did you sign anything? No. Good. Don't. I need you to listen carefully. He paused. I heard papers shuffling. Catherine filed documents 6 months before she died. Power of attorney, healthcare directive, property trust, everything ironclad. You're the sole decision maker for yourself. Tyler has no legal authority. None. Neither does his wife. Then how did they? They didn't. They're bluffing. The facility probably thinks they have authority. Jessica's good with paperwork. She probably showed them something official looking, but it's not real, not legally binding. I drank my coffee. It was too hot, but I drank it anyway. What do I do? Call the facility. Tell them you're canceling. Tell them you never authorized a deposit. If they argue, have them call me. I'll explain the law. And Tyler? Frank was quiet for a moment. That's your call. But Thomas? Catherine left you more than that box. She left you options. When you're ready, come see me. We'll talk about next steps. I hung up, finished my coffee, walked back home. The rental car was fuller now. Boxes in the trunk, boxes in the back seat. Tyler was carrying a lamp to the car. My lamp. Catherine's lamp. The one she'd bought at an estate sale 20 years ago. I took it from his hands. Dad, we need to... Put everything back. Tyler blinked. What? Put it back, all of it, now. Jessica came out of the house holding a box of dishes. Thomas, we understand this is emotional, but I'm not moving. I never agreed to move. You don't have the authority to move me. Put everything back, or I call the police and report a burglary. Burglary? Tyler's face went red. This is insane. We're trying to help you. Help yourselves, you mean? What's that supposed to mean? I set the lamp down on the driveway, looked at my son, really looked at him. He looked tired, older than 36, lines around his eyes, gray in his hair that wasn't there last year, the look of a man who wasn't sleeping well. It means I know about the refinancing, I said quietly. I know about the credit cards. I know you need money. Jessica dropped the box. Dishes shattered inside. She didn't move to pick it up. Tyler opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Mom told you. Your mother knew a lot of things. We were going to tell you, Jessica said. Her voice had lost the practiced softness. Now it was sharp, defensive. We were going to explain. It's temporary. Tyler's company had some cash flow issues. We needed to restructure. It's handled now. By selling my house. You don't need this house, Tyler said. It's too big, too expensive. You said yourself Mom always wanted to downsize. She wanted to downsize to a smaller house, not a facility, and she wanted to do it when she was ready, not when you needed the equity. The street was still quiet. Nobody mowing lawns anymore. But I could feel eyes watching from windows. Neighbors who'd heard the crash of breaking dishes, who were listening to a family fall apart on a Saturday afternoon. You're my father, Tyler said. His voice cracked. I'm trying to take care of you. You're trying to take care of your debt. I picked up the lamp, walked past them into the house, started unpacking boxes. Tyler and Jessica didn't follow. I heard them talking outside, low, urgent voices, then car doors, engine starting, the rental backing out of the driveway. I unpacked alone, put books back on shelves, dishes back in cabinets, photos back on walls. It took 3 hours. When I was done, the house looked almost normal, almost like nothing had happened. I sat in Catherine's chair, the one by the window where she used to read. The cushion still held the impression of her body. My phone buzzed. Text message from Tyler. We need to talk. Monday, my office, 2 p.m. I didn't reply. Outside, the sun was setting. The neighborhood was settling into evening, lights coming on in windows, families sitting down to dinner. Normal life. I wasn't part of normal life anymore. Catherine had made sure of that. She'd seen this coming, seen Tyler's desperation, seen Jessica's calculations. She'd built a trap and baited it, and died before she could spring it. Now that was my job. I opened my laptop, logged into email, sent a message to Frank Brennan. Monday morning, 9 a.m. I'm ready to talk about next steps. His reply came 2 minutes later. I'll have coffee ready. I closed the laptop, went to the kitchen, made dinner, ate alone at the table where Catherine and I had eaten thousands of meals together. Tomorrow was Sunday. I'd go to the hardware store, buy new locks for the doors, change them. Tyler had a key, had probably made copies. That was going to stop. Monday, I'd visit Frank, learn what Catherine had planned. Tuesday and beyond, that was going to depend on what Tyler did next. I washed my plate, dried it, put it away, went upstairs, got the box from the closet, brought it down to the kitchen table, spread out the folders, studied them like I used to study shipping manifests, looking for patterns, looking for weak points. Tyler thought he was moving me. He was wrong. I was moving him. The game had started. He just didn't know it yet. Frank Brennan's office was in a converted house on Maple Street. Victorian, yellow paint, black shutters. A brass plaque by the door said, Brennan Law, Estate Planning and Trusts. I'd been here once before, right after Catherine died. The furniture was still the same. Heavy oak desk, leather chairs, bookshelves full of legal volumes nobody actually read anymore. Frank was waiting in his office, coffee ready like he'd promised. He was older than me by maybe 10 years. bald except for white fringe around his ears, reading glasses on a chain. The kind of lawyer who looked exactly like what people expected lawyers to look like. Thomas. He stood up, shook my hand. His grip was firm, but his hand was soft. Lawyer hands. Sit, please. I sat, took the coffee. It was good. Better than the coffee shop coffee. Frank sat back down and pulled a file from his desk drawer. Thick file. Catherine's name on the tab. Your wife, he said, was one of the most thorough clients I've ever had. When she came to me 6 months before she died, she already had everything organized. Bank statements, property records, account numbers. She knew exactly what she wanted to protect and exactly who she wanted to protect it from. Tyler. Tyler, Frank agreed. And Jessica. Catherine didn't mince words. She said her son had made bad choices, said his wife was pushing him to make worse ones. She wanted to make sure that after she was gone, you'd be protected. He opened the file. Inside were documents. Lots of documents. He pulled out the first one. Power of attorney. You're designated. Tyler is not. He can't make decisions for you, can't access your accounts, can't sign papers on your behalf. Ever. Next document. Healthcare directive. Same thing. You make your own medical decisions until you're physically or mentally unable. Then the decision maker is me, not Tyler, not Jessica, me, as your attorney. Next document. The house. Catherine put it in a living trust 6 months ago. You're the trustee. You have full control. But if you die or become incapacitated, the house doesn't go to Tyler. It goes to charity, the Alzheimer's Foundation. I set down my coffee. She really didn't trust him. She trusted him to be exactly who he was, a man in financial trouble married to a woman who sees problems as things to solve by any means necessary. Frank pulled out another document. This is where it gets interesting. Catherine also filed a disclosure with the county. It's public record. States that any attempt to claim elder abuse, incompetence, or need for guardianship must be reviewed by an independent medical board, not a family doctor, not a single psychiatrist, a board, 3 doctors minimum, all court-appointed. Why would she? Because that's Jessica's next move. If they can't convince you to move, they'll try to have you declared incompetent. It's easier than you'd think. One doctor's note saying you're showing signs of dementia or depression. One judge who doesn't look too carefully. Suddenly you're in a facility, and Tyler has conservatorship. I felt cold, despite the coffee. That's legal? It happens more than people realize. Adult children getting control of aging parents. Usually it's well-intentioned. Sometimes it's not. Catherine made sure it can't happen to you without a fight. He pulled out more papers. Bank statements. Investment accounts, all in my name only. Catherine liquidated the joint accounts 3 months before she died. Everything's in your name now. Individual accounts. Tyler can't touch them, can't even see them. She also moved $60,000 into an account at a different bank. Set up automatic transfers to cover your mortgage, utilities, insurance. You could live on that for 2 years without touching your retirement. I looked at the numbers. While she was in pain, while I was sitting next to her bed reading her mystery novels because she was too weak to hold the books herself. She never said anything, I told Frank. She didn't want you to worry. She wanted you to focus on her, on the time you had left. He leaned back in his chair. But she also left you instructions. She knew Tyler would come for the house, knew he'd try to move you. She wanted you to have options. What kind of options? Frank smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who enjoyed his work. Your son owes a lot of money. Credit cards, lines of credit, private loans. He's been juggling payments for 3 years, making minimum payments on some cards by maxing out others. Classic debt spiral. Eventually it collapses. Eventually? 6 weeks, maybe 8. He's got a balloon payment coming due on one of his business loans. $50,000. If he doesn't pay, the bank calls the loan. If the bank calls the loan, everything else falls like dominoes. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, the works. I drank my coffee. It had gone lukewarm. He was going to use my house. Not just your house. Your equity. The house is worth $400,000. You owe $90,000 on the mortgage. That's $310,000 in equity, enough to clear his debts and start over. By putting me in a facility that costs $4,000 a month, which he'd pay for exactly as long as he needed to maintain the illusion that he was taking care of you. 6 months, maybe a year. Then he'd find a reason to move you somewhere cheaper. State care, Medicaid. He'd tell people you needed more help than he could afford. I set the cup down. You seem to know a lot about my son's finances. Catherine hired a forensic accountant, paid cash, had them dig through everything. I've got the full report here. He patted the file. Tyler's not a criminal. He's just a man who made bad bets and married a woman who doesn't like losing. I stood up, walked to the window. The street outside was quiet. Monday morning, people at work, kids at school, normal life rolling on. What did Catherine want me to do? She wanted you to survive. Beyond that, she left it to you. Frank's voice was gentle. You can walk away, Thomas. Let Tyler crash. Let him figure out his own mess. Or you can engage. But if you engage, you need to understand what you're doing. Catherine gave you weapons. Using them will hurt your son. Maybe permanently. I turned around. What weapons? Frank pulled out a different folder. This one had Jessica's name on it. Jessica works at County General, Hospital Administration. She makes $60,000 a year. Not enough to cover their lifestyle, but steady. Respectable. He opened the folder. She also does consulting on the side. Medical billing review, insurance coding. She's good at it. Makes an extra $20,000 a year. And some of that consulting work is fraudulent. She's been billing insurance companies for services that were never provided. Small amounts, couple hundred here, 500 there, spread across multiple companies. Hard to detect unless someone's looking. You're looking. Catherine was looking. She found irregularities 3 years ago. Had the accountant confirm them. We've got documentation. Enough to trigger an investigation. Maybe enough for charges. I sat back down. Catherine wanted me to blackmail my son's wife. Catherine wanted you to have leverage. What you do with it is your choice. The room was quiet. I could hear traffic outside. Could hear the radiator ticking. Could hear my own heartbeat. There's more, Frank said quietly. The facility. Meadowbrook. Jessica told you they put down a deposit. She lied. They never put down money. She just called and asked about availability. Told them she'd bring you in for a tour. No commitment. No contract. It was theater. To make me think I had no choice. Exactly. He closed the folder. Tyler probably doesn't even know she lied. Jessica manages their finances, manages their planning. Tyler just does what she tells him because he's tired and scared and doesn't know how to fix the hole they're in. I thought about Saturday. Tyler's face when I confronted him. The way he'd looked tired, old, desperate. He's still my son. I know. Frank's voice was kind. Catherine knew too. That's why she left you choices. You can help Tyler, but on your terms, not his, not Jessica's, yours. How? Frank pulled out one more document. This one was blank except for a header. Loan agreement. Personal loan from father to son. $50,000, enough to cover the balloon payment, but with conditions. What conditions? Whatever you want. Repayment schedule, interest, collateral. Catherine even suggested some specific terms. Want to hear them? I nodded. First, Tyler and Jessica attend financial counseling, real counseling, credit counselor, budget planning, weekly sessions for 6 months. You get copies of the reports. Second, Jessica quits the consulting work, all of it. No more insurance billing, no more side jobs, clean employment only. Third, Tyler gets a second job, part-time, nights or weekends. You don't specify what, just that he works it and the money goes to debt reduction. Fourth, they sell the house, downsize to something they can afford. Use the equity to clear the smaller debts. Fifth, no contact with you for 1 year except through me. No visits, no calls, no attempts to convince you to move or change your living situation. Frank slid the blank agreement across the desk. You loan him the money, he avoids bankruptcy, but he earns it, and you don't have to trust him because I enforce the terms. He misses a payment, breaks a condition, tries to contact you. The loan gets called, immediately, and he's back where he started. I picked up the document, ran my fingers over the blank signature line. What if he says no? Then you do nothing. You let the bank call his loan. Let bankruptcy happen. Let him and Jessica figure it out on their own. You're protected either way. The house is yours. Your accounts are yours. He can't touch anything. I set the document down. And Jessica's fraud? That stays in this file. Insurance for your insurance. If Jessica tries anything, claims you're incompetent, files for guardianship, makes trouble, then I make a call. 1 call to the State Insurance Fraud Division. Anonymous tip. They'll investigate. They'll find what Catherine found. Jessica loses her job, probably faces charges. You do that? I do what my client instructed. Catherine was very clear. Protect Thomas, even if that means protecting him from his own family. I stood up again, paced the office. The bookshelves were full of old law books, inheritance law, estate planning, trust management, all the ways families fought over money. I need to think, I said. Take your time, but not too much time. Tyler's payment is due in 6 weeks. If you want to make the offer, it should be soon. Give him time to make a decision. I picked up the loan agreement, folded it, put it in my jacket pocket. I'll call you. Frank stood, shook my hand again. Catherine loved you very much. She wanted you to know that. She said you were the only person who never wanted anything from her except her company. I left before I could respond to that. Walked to my car, sat in the parking lot, pulled out my phone. Tyler had sent 3 more texts since Saturday, each one more demanding than the last. We need to talk. Call me. This is important. I deleted them all, started the car, drove home. The house was exactly how I'd left it, quiet, empty, full of Catherine's absence. I went to the kitchen, made lunch, ate mechanically, cleaned up, went upstairs to the bedroom, opened the closet. Catherine's dresses still hung there. The box was on the shelf where I'd left it. I pulled out one dress, blue cotton, simple. Catherine had worn it on our first date, 30 years ago. I'd taken her to a street fair. We'd eaten corn dogs and watched a terrible cover band play Eagles songs. She'd laughed at my jokes even though they weren't funny, kissed me goodnight on her doorstep, said yes when I asked if she wanted to do it again. I put the dress back, closed the closet, sat on the bed. Catherine had built me a fortress. Walls, weapons, defenses, done it to protect me from our son. Tyler was still my son, still the kid who'd learned to ride a bike on this street, who'd brought home straight A's and soccer trophies, who'd cried at his grandmother's funeral and held Catherine's hand, but he was also the man who'd tried to put me in a facility so he could sell my house. Both things were true. I pulled out my phone, texted Tyler. Wednesday, 2 p.m., my house. Come alone. The reply came immediately. Jessica should be there. I typed back. Alone or not at all. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Fine. I put the phone away. Went downstairs, got the box from the closet, brought it to my office, the small room off the kitchen that Catherine had used for her accounting work. Her computer was still there. Old desktop. I turned it on. It booted slowly. Her desktop background was a photo of us from our anniversary last year. Hawaii. She'd been sick already, but hiding it, smiling for the camera like everything was fine. I opened her files, found the folder labeled Tyler Financial. Inside were spreadsheets, years of data, every loan, every credit card, every late payment. Catherine had tracked it all, had watched our son drowning and taken notes. I printed everything, 200 pages, put them in a folder, Put the folder in my desk drawer. Wednesday, I'd give Tyler a choice. Take the loan with conditions, or refuse and face bankruptcy. Either way, he'd know I wasn't the confused old man he thought I was. Either way, Catherine's plan would move forward. I turned off the computer, left her office, went to the living room, sat in her chair by the window, watched the street outside, watched normal life happening to other people. My phone rang. Jessica, I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Thomas, Tyler told me about Wednesday. I think this is a mistake. We should all sit down together, as a family, work this out. Please call me back. I deleted the voicemail. Tuesday, I spent getting ready, changed the locks like I'd planned, installed them myself. Tyler's old key wouldn't work anymore. I also went to the bank, met with the branch manager, moved more money into the separate account, made sure everything was protected. The manager was young, maybe 30. She looked at my accounts and smiled. You're in good shape, Mr. Hayes, very organized. My wife, I said. She was an accountant. Smart woman. Yes, I said. She was. Wednesday morning, I woke early, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, waited. Tyler arrived at exactly 2 p.m. I watched through the window as he parked at the curb. He sat in his car for a minute before getting out, checking his phone, delaying. I opened the door before he could knock. He looked worse than Saturday. Hadn't shaved, eyes red, wearing a suit, but the shirt was wrinkled. Dad. Come in. He followed me to the kitchen, sat at the table where I pointed. I stayed standing. Coffee? No, thanks, I just want to talk. I poured myself a cup, sat down across from him. Saturday was a mistake, he said. We shouldn't have surprised you like that. We should have talked first, asked what you wanted. Yes, I said. You should have. Jessica was pushing. She thought it would be easier if we just handled everything. I should have told her no. I drank my coffee. Waited. The thing is, Dad, we really do think you'd be better off somewhere with people around. Support, activities. It's not about the house. It's about you. About making sure you're okay. It's about money, I said. Tyler's face went red. That's not... I pulled the folder from my desk drawer, set it on the table, opened it, spreadsheets on top. You owe $700,000, I said. Credit cards, lines of credit, business loans. You've been making minimum payments by borrowing more money. In 6 weeks you have a balloon payment due. $50,000. You don't have it. Tyler stared at the papers. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Your plan was to sell my house. Use the equity to clear your debts. Put me in Meadowbrook and pay the fees for a few months until I stopped complaining. Then move me somewhere cheaper. Dad, Don't lie to me. My voice was calm, flat. Your mother knew. She spent the last months of her life documenting everything. Making sure you couldn't touch anything. Making sure I'd be protected. Tyler's eyes were wet. Mom knew? She knew. She watched you struggle. Watched you make bad choices. She wanted to help, but she also knew Jessica wouldn't let you be helped. Not really. So she protected me instead. I slid a different paper across the table, the loan agreement Frank had prepared. I'll give you the $50,000. You can make your payment. Avoid bankruptcy. Tyler grabbed the paper. Read it. His expression went from hope to anger. Conditions? Financial counseling? Jessica quitting her consulting? You want me to sell my house? I want you to stop drowning. This is how you do it. By controlling my life? By learning to live within your means. He threw the paper down, stood up. This is insane. I'm your son. I don't need you to manage me like I'm a child. Then act like an adult. Take responsibility for your debts. Stop looking for easy answers. Easy? Tyler's voice cracked. You think any of this has been easy? I work 60 hours a week. Jessica works full-time. We do everything right, and we're still drowning. The economy, interest rates. Everything costs more and nobody pays more. We're trying. We're trying so hard and it's not enough. I stood up too, looked at my son, really looked at him. Then take the help, real help, not my house, not my money without strings, actual help. The strings are the problem. The strings are the point. You don't get to take my life apart to fix yours. That's not help, that's theft. Tyler wiped his eyes, picked up the loan agreement, read it again. No contact for a year. You tried to institutionalize me against my will. You lost my trust. It'll take time to earn it back. Jessica won't agree to this. Jessica doesn't get a vote. This is between you and me. He folded the paper, put it in his pocket. I need to think. You have until Friday. Sign the agreement and we go to Frank Brennan's office. Make it official. Or don't sign and handle it yourself. Tyler walked to the door, stopped, turned around. Did Mom really think I'd hurt you? I thought about Catherine, sitting in bed, signing papers with shaking hands, building walls to protect me from our son. She thought you'd convince yourself you were helping me. She thought Jessica would make it easy to believe that. She thought when it came down to choosing between your comfort and mine, you'd choose yours. She was wrong. Then prove it. Sign the agreement. Tyler left. I watched him drive away, sat back down at the kitchen table, drank cold coffee. My phone buzzed. Text from Frank. How did it go? I typed back. He'll sign, maybe not Friday, but he'll sign. He's got no other choice. Frank's reply. Catherine would be proud of you. I set the phone down, looked around the empty kitchen. Catherine's coffee mug was still in the cabinet. I'd washed it after she died, but never put it away, never used it. Just left it there like she might come back and need it. She wasn't coming back, but her plan was working, and I was just getting started. The first dinner was the following Friday. I almost canceled 3 times. Drove halfway to their apartment and turned around twice before finally forcing myself to park and walk to their door. Tyler answered before I could knock, like he'd been watching for me. Dad, come in. The apartment was small, 1 bedroom converted to 2 by a curtain, kitchen barely big enough for 2 people, living room dominated by a used couch and TV, nothing like the house they'd sold. Jessica was in the kitchen, cooking. Something with chicken and vegetables. The apartment smelled good. Thomas, would you like something to drink? We have water, juice, tea. Water is fine. She poured water into a clean glass, handed it to me. Her hands shook slightly. We were all nervous. Tyler gestured to the couch. Have a seat. Dinner's almost ready. I sat, looked around. The apartment was clean, organized, a baby catalog on the coffee table, pregnancy books stacked neatly, everything cheap but cared for. The place is nice, I lied. It's small, Tyler said honestly, but it's ours. No mortgage we can't afford, no keeping up with neighbors, just us. Jessica brought plates to the small dining table. We sat, she served. Chicken, roasted vegetables, rice, simple food, well prepared. We ate in awkward silence for several minutes. How's work? I finally asked. Tyler swallowed. Exhausting. The warehouse is brutal. Night shift means I sleep during the day. Makes it hard to have a normal schedule. But the pay is steady, and they don't ask questions. And your day job? Still there. Marketing coordinator. It's fine. Boring. But it pays the bills. I turned to Jessica. And you? Hospital is the same. Retail on weekends is mind-numbing, but the discount helps. We buy baby things there, clothes, supplies. We're slowly building what we need. When are you due? July, 12 weeks to go. She put her hand on her belly. Everything looks good. We had another ultrasound last week. She's healthy. She? Jessica smiled. It was the first genuine smile I'd seen from her. Catherine. We're naming her Catherine, if that's still okay. It's fine. We ate more. The silence was less awkward now, almost comfortable. I'm building something, I said. A cradle. Oak. It'll be ready before July. Tyler set his fork down. Dad, you don't have to. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because your mother would have wanted me to. She would have built something if she was still here, so I'm building it for her. Jessica's eyes filled. Thank you. After dinner, Jessica showed me the nursery area, the curtain partition, the crib they'd bought secondhand, the changing table someone at the hospital had given them. Everything was clean, organized, ready for a baby they were clearly terrified to bring into their small, struggling world. She'll be happy here, I said. Will she? Jessica's voice cracked. We're broke, living in a tiny apartment. What kind of life is that for a child? An honest one. That's more than a lot of kids get. Tyler joined us, put his arm around Jessica. We're doing our best. I know. I left around 8, drove home. The house felt emptier than usual. Too big for one person. Too quiet. I went to the workshop. Worked on the cradle. Sanded. Stained. Focused on making it perfect. The next Friday I went back. Then the Friday after that. We developed a routine. I'd arrive at 6. We'd eat. Talk about surface things. Work. Weather. The pregnancy. Never about money. Never about the past. Just existing together for a few hours. In April, Jessica asked if I wanted to come to an ultrasound appointment. I said yes before I could overthink it. The appointment was on a Wednesday afternoon. I met them at the clinic, sat in the waiting room while they checked in. Tyler paced. Jessica sat perfectly still, hands on her belly. They called us back. The tech was young, cheerful, squirted gel on Jessica's belly, moved the wand around. And there she was. On the screen. Tiny. Perfect. Moving. Everything looks great, the tech said. She's measuring right on track. Heart rate is perfect. Want to hear it? She turned up the volume. Rapid thumping filled the room. Catherine's heartbeat. Jessica cried. Tyler held her hand. I stood in the corner watching a grandchild I'd never expected to meet. Catherine's namesake. Catherine's legacy. Would you like pictures? The tech asked. Yes, I said before anyone else could answer. She printed several, handed them to Jessica. Jessica looked at them, then handed one to me. For you. I took it, looked at the grainy black and white image, a profile, tiny nose, tiny hands, alive and growing and real. Thank you. We left the clinic together, stood in the parking lot. Dad, Tyler said, I know we haven't talked about it, but when the baby comes, would you want to be there, at the hospital? You don't have to, but we'd like you to be, if you're comfortable. I looked at the ultrasound picture. I'll be there. Tyler hugged me, first time in over a year. I stood stiff for a moment, then hugged back. When I got home, I put the ultrasound picture on the refrigerator, next to old photos of Catherine. Catherine would have done the same thing. May brought warm weather. I worked in the garden, planted tomatoes and herbs like Catherine used to. The cradle was finished. I'd lined it with soft padding, made sure every edge was smooth. Catherine would have approved. Tyler called one Sunday, not for our usual chat. Different time, different tone. Dad, I need advice. About what? Jessica's scared, really scared. The birth, being a mother, all of it. She's having panic attacks, can't sleep. The doctor gave her techniques, but they're not helping. I don't know what to do. I remembered Catherine, terrified but trying not to show it, reading books at 2 a.m., making lists, trying to control the uncontrollable. Is she seeing anyone? A therapist? She won't go, says she doesn't have time, doesn't have money. Tell her I'll pay for it. Dad, you don't have to. Tell her. If she won't go for herself, tell her to go for the baby. Anxiety affects the pregnancy. She knows that. She works in healthcare. Silence. Then, okay. I'll tell her. Tyler? Yeah? Your mother was terrified too. convinced something would go wrong, but she did it anyway. Jessica will too. Fear is just information. It doesn't have to be a stop sign. Thanks, Dad. Jessica started therapy the following week. Tyler told me she went twice a week, that it was helping, that she was sleeping better. I didn't mention paying for it again, just got the bills from Frank and paid them quietly. June arrived. Catherine's due date was approaching. Tyler called constantly, reporting every detail: Braxton Hicks contractions, swollen ankles, nesting instincts. Jessica was huge and miserable and ready to be done. "Can you come over?" Tyler asked one evening. "Jessica wants to talk to you, in person." I drove to the apartment. Jessica was on the couch, feet propped up, belly enormous. "Thomas, thank you for coming." She struggled to sit up. Tyler helped her. "What did you need?" She looked at Tyler. He nodded. She took a breath. "I want to apologize. Really apologize. Not the rehearsed version I gave in counseling. The real one." I sat down. Waited. When Catherine died, I saw an opportunity. That's the truth. Cold and terrible, but true. You had assets. You were alone. You were vulnerable. It seemed logical to move you somewhere managed and use the house to solve our problems. She paused. "I never once thought about what you wanted, what you needed, what Catherine would have wanted. I just saw a problem and a solution. That's how I've lived my whole life. Problems are things to be solved. People are variables in the equation." She wiped her eyes. "But you're not a variable. You're Tyler's father, Catherine's husband, a person with rights and feelings and a life you built. I took all of that and reduced it to equity in a house." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because we're naming our daughter Catherine. And if I'm going to raise her to be anything like your wife, I need to be different than I've been. I need to see people as people. Starting with you." I didn't know what to say. Jessica had always been calculating, strategic. This felt genuine, but I'd been fooled before. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Forgiveness, eventually. But mostly, I want you to know I'm trying. The therapy is helping. I'm learning I don't have to control everything. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That asking for help isn't failure." She looked at her belly. "I'm terrified I'll mess her up, teach her all my worst habits. But I'm hoping if I can change, she won't have to unlearn what I'd teach her." Tyler sat next to her, took her hand. "We're both trying, Dad. Both learning. Both failing sometimes. But we're doing it honestly now." I looked at them. Young, scared, broke, expecting a baby in weeks, trying to be better than they'd been. Catherine would have forgiven them already. I wasn't Catherine, but I could try. "Keep trying," I said. "That's all I'm asking. Just keep trying." "We will," Jessica promised. I left feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope, cautious, fragile. But there, maybe Catherine had been right about them. Maybe they could change. Maybe I could forgive. The cradle sat in my workshop, finished, perfect, waiting for Catherine, the baby, not my wife, but her namesake, her legacy, her second chance. I ran my hand over the smooth wood. Catherine had built protections, given me weapons, made sure I'd survive. But she'd also given me this: a reason to hope, a reason to try, a reason to believe family could be rebuilt from ruins. I'd torn down some walls. Soon I'd need to tear down more, but for now, this was enough.